Welcome back. You're watching Investors Guide. Thank you for staying with us. It's time to get your questions answered by Feroze Azeez on asset allocation. Feroze, our first question comes in from Vidya. She recently retired and received an amount of 41 lakh rupees as benefit. She invested 15 lakh rupees in fixed deposits for a period of 36 months. She wants to now invest the remaining 26 lakh rupees in 5 or 6 mutual funds. And she wants to know if she should go for the growth option or the dividend reinvest option to maximize returns. So it doesn't seem like she needs a regular income from this amount. She wants to maximize her returns. So I would recommend the growth option. Feroze?
See, Vidya, I think it's good that you've got a retirement benefit and you've put a large portion into fixed deposits. And the best thing you've done is taken a period of about 36 months for your fixed deposits, because interest rates, when they come down, you've locked in yourself a very good interest rate, or if not very good, at least the sliding interest rates will not impact you, and the reinvestment risk is away, 36 months away. So I think that's a good strategy. But on the mutual fund side, I think you have to look at equity. Since you have 15 lakhs invested in fixed deposit, 26 lakhs in mutual fund, I would, since it's a retirement corpus, I would ask you to put 50-50, which is 20 lakhs in debt and 20 lakhs in equity. So 5 more lakhs, in my opinion, should go into a fixed rate instrument to bring stability to your portfolio, and other 20 lakhs can be invested in 4 mutual funds. Let me state a few of them, which are my favorites from the next 2-3 year perspective. On the large cap sides, which are the funds which invest in larger companies, I'll ask you to choose SBI Magnum Blue Chip Fund, and again another large cap fund, Mirae Asset India Opportunities Fund. These are the 2 large cap funds. Religare Mid and Small Cap could be a mid cap scheme, and ICICI Discovery could be a scheme which actually invests in all categories and sizes of companies. So these are the 4 funds. You need to put 5 lakhs each and reallocate 5 lakhs more into the debt category to bring in a 50-50 kind of an asset allocation, which will bring in immense stability to your retirement corpus, Vidya. Now coming to the second part of your question, which is should you choose growth or dividend reinvestment? As of now, I think you can be agnostic of either of these options. There's no difference, negligible difference. But if dividend distribution tax gets introduced, you should choose growth. But otherwise, dividend reinvestment is the best option, in my opinion, as things stand today. But I think growth option would be more advisable when there is dividend distribution tax, which is currently 0 in the equity category of funds.
Our next question comes in from first-time investor Preetpal Singh. He wants to invest 50,000 rupees in mutual funds, and he wants to know which funds should he choose and what would be his lock-in period. Well, since you're a first-time investor, I want to personally lock you in for 10 years, but there's no lock-in really on a mutual fund unless you pick a tax saver. Feroze, what sort of funds should he be picking?
See, if you're looking at mutual funds, I think you should look at equity mutual funds from a 3-year time frame perspective. Anything less than that, especially in the current volatile situation, if you're expecting returns sooner than that, it could just happen. But I think you should have a 3-year time frame and have no lesser than 3-year kind of a time frame from an equity fund standpoint. But if you have to invest money, I think you should look at large cap schemes. Half the money should be into large cap schemes, which could be ICICI Focus Blue Chip and Mirae India Opportunities Fund. These can be the large cap scheme. Canara Robeco Emerging Business is one of the very good schemes, which is in the mid cap space, and SBI Magnum Mid Cap. These are the 4 funds you can choose in the equity category to make your investment. I think, and coming back to the time frame, please make sure when you're making equity investments, you be very patient with them, because it takes time for the professional to add value to you on a daily basis to accumulate it to a larger quantum. So 2 to 3 years minimum should be the time frame from an equity mutual fund standpoint.
Last question of the show. 64-year-old Pankaj Gupta tells us he has an emergency fund invested in a liquid mutual fund, and he says he did not want to withdraw from this fund over the last 3 or 4 years. He now wants to know whether it's advisable to hold an emergency fund in a liquid scheme for the long term. Well, it depends. If it's if it's really an emergency fund, then it makes most sense to keep it liquid. Feroze, what would you recommend he does?
See, if you have had an emergency scheme, it's very important to have the emergency scheme liquid. But having said which, now that you've not ended up using any portion of your emergency fund, it becomes very you're very tempted to actually end up making an investment rather than parking the money for a contingency, if at all there is one. So having said which, if you have to optimize the performance of your contingency fund, you can look at arbitrage funds which bring in tax efficiency, which can get you about 7.5% post-tax, which is as good as a 10.5% liquid fund. So I think if you're sure that a large portion of your contingency fund might not be needed in a short span of time, then you can look at arbitrage funds for half the portion to make sure that your returns are about 1.5% more than a liquid fund. In the arbitrage fund category, you have several funds, but I think a Kotak arbitrage fund could be a very cost-efficient method of getting tax-efficient returns, because arbitrage funds, from a technical taxation nomenclature perspective, these are categorized as equity scheme in spite of having their risk-return profiles similar to a liquid fund or a debt fund. Because the arbitrage scheme have stocks and also mitigate those stocks by actually taking short positions in them. Net from an investment standpoint, investor standpoint, what's important is the return risk profile is similar to debt, but taxation is equity, bringing down dividend distribution tax to zero. So use arbitrage fund for half the money of your contingency fund will actually optimize the money more efficiently. Yeah.